Hello everyone, welcome to EDUHUNT IIT NEET Foundation classes. This is Lata Krishna dealing with biology. We are discussing about vegetative propagation techniques, and there are two different methods of vegetative propagation. One is natural and the second one is artificial. Naturally, plants have the capability of multiplication through vegetative mode. So, what are the parts which involve in vegetative propagation? Roots, stems, branches, even leaves involve in propagation. There are various natural ways that we have discussed in the previous video. One is rhizome, corm, stem tuber, bulb. These come under the category of underground stems which used as vegetative propagation method. And second one is subaerial stems like in oxalis, the runners, stolons in jasmine, suckers in chrysanthemum, that is chamanti మొక్కలు అంటాం కదా అది, even mentha, పుదీనా. These plants reproduce vegetatively by formation of suckers. And another mode is runner, stolon, sucker and offset. Offsets are quite common in free floating hydrophytes like Pistia and Eichhornia. And secondly, in some terrestrial plants like agave also produce offsets. This is an underground stem, rhizome, example ginger. This is stem tuber, potato. This is bulb, onion. All these are underground stems involved in vegetative propagation. This is subaerial runner. It is a strawberry plant. It is a stolon. It is Pistia, offset in Pistia. Now we are entering into types or the parts which involve in vegetative propagation. This is the aerial stem, aerial part of the plant. Here you can see the leaf-like structure. The leaf-like structure that we call is, it is not like leaf, it is not a leaf, it is not a stem. It is a modified stem called phyllodes. The plant is opuntia. In opuntia, phylloclade. Phyllodes is phylloclade actually. So what is this? It is a xerophytic plant in which the leaves are modified into spines. So what is the main purpose of leaf? What is the main function of leaf? First is the transpiration and also photosynthesis. So to avoid transpiration, because it is a xerophytic plant, it has to escape from the loss of water, that is transpiration. To avoid that, what plants do is they modify their leaves into some other structures like scaly leaves and some spine-like structures. These are spines, leaf modifications. To lessen the rate of transpiration, the leaves were modified in the form of spines. Then which will take the responsibility of leaf? Ultimately the stem, called phylloclade. So this part, the stem, is swollen, succulent, bears spines and help in photosynthesis. Not only in photosynthesis, it also helps in regeneration, that is propagation, vegetative propagation. The aerial stem helps in vegetative propagation. That is, if we cut the stem and we place that stem, part of the stem in the soil, it will flourish into a new plant. Let's see vegetative propagation by roots. Second is, first we have seen vegetative propagation by stem and vegetative propagation by roots. Vegetative propagation by roots. In the previous class I have mentioned so many examples. Murraya konigi, that is curry leaves, in which the buds of the roots called radical buds. What are they? Radical buds. The buds on the root called radical buds. They give out new plants. Example, murraya, that is karivepaku, curry leaves, Murraya konigi, even asparagus, potato, dahlia, and even psidium, that is guava. All these are examples of root buds which help in vegetative propagation. They will give rise to new plants. Vegetative propagation by leaves. Best example for vegetative propagation by leaves is Opuntia. Just now we have seen, Bryophyllum. Bryophyllum, which is a succulent plant. It has notched leaves. Leaf lamina, the edge of the leaf is not entire. It is like somewhat ridged, notched. These notches bear epiphyllous buds. Epiphyllous buds. Epi means above. Phyllous means leaves. Epiphyllous buds are the buds that arise on the leaves. These buds, if we separate these buds and place in the soil, they will germinate and they sprout and will give rise to the new plant. So that is why it is the best example of leaf propagation, propagation through leaves. Example is Bryophyllum, Ranapala antaru. In Telugu, commonly in Telugu we say Ranapala. Ranapala plant. Yes, this is Ranapala plant. Yes, you can see it is actually Kalanko plant. This plant also shows vegetative propagation through leaves. Bryophyllum and even begonia. Begonia is another example. It also propagates through leaves and leaf buds called epiphyllous buds and produced from petiole and veins through the surface of the leaf. Walking fern also propagates through leaf tips. Walking fern is Ediantum. The fern that grows, the leaves look like feather of a bird. So these are the examples. Best example is Bryophyllum and another examples are begonia. Begonia and even walking fern, they produce, just now we have seen, it is the leaf actually. This leaf is bearing epiphyllous buds on its surface, that is edge. if we separate the bud and if we place the bud on soil, it will give rise to a new plant. This is an example of plant propagation through leaves. And coming to the next one, that is vegetative propagation by reproductive parts. What are the reproductive parts? Especially flowers are the primary reproductive parts. They are associated with sexual reproduction. Flowers are the sex bearing sex organs which involve in sexual reproduction. But in globa, some agave, it is a xerophyte, that is drought tolerant plant. Onion, Allium cepa, and special multicellular structures called bulbils. Bulbils arise on the stem. They involve in, if we separate the bulbils, they can germinate into a new plant. And these are the modifications of axillary buds through which the plant can propagate. Bulbils grow into new plants when shed from the mother. When they separate from the mother, they will act as new plants. Bulbils are like in Dioscorea, the plant is like the Dioscorea leaf looks like this, the plant, and in the axils the bulbils arise. This is the bulbil. Whenever it separates and falls on the ground, whenever it separates from the plant and falls on the ground, it germinates. This is the bulbil. This bulbil will germinate and give rise to a new Dioscorea plant. It is Dioscorea. Dioscorea is another example. So I gave globa, onion, all these are examples of vegetative propagation by reproductive parts. These are some other examples. It is oxalis. In this, if we separate the plant at internodal part, both the plants, if as soon as until they separate from each other, they act as a single plant. If we separate the plant at this junction, that is between the nodes, that is internode, if we separate the two parts, the plant, if we cut the plant at the internodal region, it will act as a separate one and it is a separate one. In this way they propagate. అంటే మనం సెపరేట్ చేయనంత వరకు it is a single plant. If we cut the internodal part, if we separate, మనం ఎన్ని కట్ చేస్తే అన్ని plants గా అవి individual plants గా ఉంటాయి. We can plant them separately. They will spread on the ground. It is a ginger rhizome, example for rhizome. It is subaerial. The oxalis plant is subaerial. And it is an underground plant. It is an underground stem in rhizome, ginger. And one more example is curcuma, that is turmeric also. Even turmeric also, banana also, banana, turmeric and ginger. All these are the examples of underground stem which propagates through rhizomes. It is example of stem tuber, potato. It is again an underground stem. Here it is offset. It is offset. This offset example is pistia. in this offset, in this plant, the offset is produced on the surface of the water surface, and it is adventitious buds present on the leaf. Example is bryophyllum, vegetative propagation through leaves. We have seen vegetative propagation through stem, vegetative propagation through root, vegetative propagation by leaves. We have given examples for each one of this. It is stem, again bulb is stem, underground stem, which will give rise to new individual. So stem ki we have seen underground stem, subaerial, that is oxalis, runners, stolons, suckers, offsets, all these are of subaerial stems involved in vegetative propagation. And aerial, opuntia we have seen. In roots, murraya. Through leaves, bryophyllum. Bryophyllum, even walking fern, all these are examples. Yes, my dear children, with this we have finished our concept of vegetative propagation through natural way, through stems, leaves and roots. Propagation is nothing but multiplication, and this multiplication with the help of stems, leaves and roots, they will give rise to a number of new individuals. There are underground stems, there are subaerial stems and aerial stems which involve in vegetative propagation. And even roots also involve in vegetative propagation by producing various buds called radical buds, buds present on the roots. And next is the leaf. Leaf is also involved in vegetative propagation. They give rise to some epiphyllous buds. When they separate from the leaf, they germinate and produce a new plant. Even they germinate even on the mother leaf also. So these are the various natural ways of vegetative propagation. In the next session, we will discuss the various artificial means of vegetative propagation. Goodbye.